So I've got this log splitter I picked up, and a few interesting things about it. It's a Ariens 34 ton. It's got a Subaru 7 horsepower motor. It didn't run when I got it. It was in like new condition otherwise. You could tell it only been used a couple of times. Flat tires from sitting, you know, that kind of thing. But it needed a little bit, but I knew it would be a good splitter. Obviously it's a decent splitter, but it didn't run, and the first thing I had to do was get the carburetor cleaned out. And it's got this inexpensive Chinese looking carburetor, because that's what it is. It was 15 bucks on eBay, and I gave it a shot after trying to get the original carburetor going, but I couldn't do it. So I bought this cheap carburetor, installed it. I didn't have to do anything but install it, and it idled, it started, it ran great. This year I had to just turn the idle up a little bit for some reason. It seemed a little low, which is what you want to do in my opinion, just to keep oil pumping, you know, inside the motor. So that was one of the things. And one of the things I just recently did here was put this cap on. The guy must have lost the oil dipstick and vent cap, and you can see I drilled a little hole in there for a vent, which is not uncommon. And I've got a factory dipstick on order, so that'll be coming. So that's what I did with that. That's a little bit interesting. And another thing that was odd, this filter housing was kind of moving around. I wasn't sure if it was some kind of unusual connection that I wasn't aware of, but basically it wasn't spun around enough to seal and be firm. So I had to take the hose off, which was nothing in there, it's fine, and re-dope it, re-pipe dope it over there, and just spin that on, and that's been fine. It's kind of weird though. A nice machine, but you know, not perfect. So we did that. Obviously it tilts. You can see that it's tilt up vertical, which is invaluable for splitting big logs into this. I think I got, I split them all, but yeah, you need to have that. To me, it's critical. Otherwise, you're just not going to get anywhere. And I don't know if people are aware of how these things work when you tilt them up. It's got a little flap that it's held up by a pin here. If you want to keep it up, this thing here, you can't do it now, but it swings up out of the way, doesn't drag. Otherwise, if you trailer this, it would drag. But that's where the I-beam stops. So you got a little bit of an angle here, which I'm not sure if you can see. It's at an angle, trust me. And that's how you want to do it. And that's where it stops. That prevents it from pushing to the ground, which will lift the machine up. So that's how that thing works there. I added a few things to this because it was such a nice machine. It's exactly identical, as far as I know, to the 27 ton, I believe. It probably has a bigger pump. This one has a bigger pump and a motor on it. So that was good. Now I added the table, and I added these arms here on the end, the cradle arms. And because it was a good machine, and I was having trouble just balancing everything on the I-beam, and it was just kind of crazy. I got these, and it sped up my work, you know, ability a lot, to where I can really move through what I need to. Other than that, one time I foolishly laid a piece of wood across the top like a table. That's what convinced me, like this. And when this thing came back, as the blade came back, it bumped into this fitting here and bent it in about an instant. So don't do that anymore. Now I use the table. So that was a lesson learned. $50 for that part. But it's a nice machine. It's not perfect, I would say, because I've seen some others. Maybe they're not perfect too. But you know, it's a good machine. and I just want to let people see it, because when I looked up this machine, and there was a video on it on YouTube, there's some guy cutting wood for 5 minutes. I mean, I could cut wood, but we all know it cuts wood, splits wood. So yeah, the other thing is it's got a nice heavy duty blade setup, but my understanding is you can't, and you can see why, because it's all attached here in two places, not just on the top. You can't get the 4-way splitter on there unless you probably custom made something. So that's kind of a negative, but otherwise it's super strong, and it's in good shape. And these are readily available. These cradle arms and the table are readily available on maybe on eBay, things like that, But I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to try to do a few more. I thought it was interesting. I hope you guys think it's interesting also.